Hey, how's it going, YouTube? How y'all doing today? I cut these animals' feed back a little bit today by about 2 buckets. So normally I give them 12 buckets, and each bucket weighs about 25 pounds. And so, yep, that's how much I normally give them. 12 times 25, yeah, because that's 250, and then they get 500 pounds of feed a day. And so this morning, they just don't seem that motivated to eat. They seem like they're getting I don't really know what's going on. Either they're full or they're getting acidosis. And so they're eating very slow. Their feed intake is definitely noticeably lower. They're eating very slowly. So this morning, I decided that I'm going to reduce their feed and see what's going on. I don't see any signs of acidosis, so I just think that they're getting real full. I was like, it's either acidosis or they're getting real full. I don't see any bloating going on. I don't see any grain bloat going on or anything like that. Their gut fill is very good. They got good gut fill on them. Like this, look at this animal right here. He don't look like he's hungry. He look like he's pretty full. And so I figure that these animals are just getting a bit too full. They're getting a little bit too much food. So I cut their feed back a little bit. Because, okay, so in my budget, it's not in my best interest to feed these animals until they're completely full. Because these cattle, they will eat more than, they will eat a lot. If they're left alone to eat as much as they want, they will eat significantly more than what they need in terms of, like, if I just want to put let's say I want to put 2.75 pounds a day on these cattle. If I don't need to give them as much food as they want to eat to get them to put on 2.5 pounds a day. If these animals eat as much as they want, they could put on in excess of 3 pounds a day. And if they put on in excess of 3 pounds a day over a good long period of time, they're going to get extremely fat. And yeah, but I ain't really looking to do that. I mean, if I was looking to sell cattle for meat, like if I had somebody that was like, hey man, I'd like to buy some meat, and you know, I could take these animals to the processor down the street and just have them take care of all that, and then they could buy the meat. But if I was doing that, I wouldn't mind putting a lot of feed into these animals. But in terms of just growing them out to just background them, it ain't really in my best interest to do that. It costs a lot more money. It over conditions these cattle. There are a lot of things that just go on with it. But yesterday I was taking a look around. I was taking a look around on the stock market. So you know, nowadays people have pretty 99.999% of all of the world's information in their pocket on a cell phone nowadays. And so, you know, like, you know, if I'm at work and I got 5-10 minutes to just sit there, you know, I can read, I can pull out my phone and legitimately read a published paper on the effects of antibiotics, on the effects of different antibiotics and different trials of cattle. Or I can pull up a paper and read about the amount of distance that fertilizer moves in the ground according to in relation to the amount of irrigation water that's applied to the field, and etc. I can read about anything I want on my cell phone nowadays, as long as I'm motivated to do so, and as long as I say, okay, you know what, today I'm gonna do something about I'm gonna do something today. I can pull out my phone and just look it up on Google. I can read about whatever I want. If I want to learn how to raise cattle, I can read about. I can read published papers on cattle. I can watch university presentations on the raising of cattle. I can do whatever I want nowadays, right? You know, in terms of learning how to do something, it's never been easier. You know, nowadays the access of information is incredible. And in the future, it's probably going to even be better. I would think that in about 30-40 years, it's going to be global internet. And when there's global internet, there'll probably be global automation that occurs from that global internet as well. And people may even be able to put computer chips in their brains and stuff in the future. And if that's connected through via a global internet, the possibilities are infinite. But yeah, but things have never been easier. In terms of being able to achieve something and do a good job, if someone literally just puts in effort, puts in 10 to 15 years of effort and just works, okay, someone who puts in 10, 15 years of effort and works 40 hours a week, it's going to take them their whole life to get anywhere. But if they start putting in that 80 hours, if they start putting in that 100 hours, they can get further than most people in just 10, 15 years. And so if someone goes and works on something for 100 hours a week for 15 years, that they'll probably get further than somebody who's 60 years old who worked 40 hours a week. And it just is what it is, right? I mean, all this stuff doesn't just magically soak into my brain in my sleep one day. I have to put in effort to learn how to do this stuff, and I have to put in effort to raise the cattle. I mean, these cattle, they're not going to vaccinate themselves, they're not going to feed themselves, they're not going to whatever, I have to do everything. I have to physically, work to actually achieve anything, and it just is what it is. And and it's much easier to achieve something working 100 hours a week than it is working 40 hours a week, because working 40 hours a week, it's just going to take too long. Somebody who works 40 hours a week, it's going to take them their whole life to get anywhere. And it's just, and I'm not here to, say that it's wrong to take your whole life to do something. But if that's what you want to do, that's fine by me. It don't mean nothing to me. But yesterday I was taking a look at the stock market. But even nowadays, the whole stock market, the New York Exchange, the stock market is on a cell phone nowadays. And so if somebody wants to invest, they can legitimately invest through their phone instead of going to Wall Street. Yeah, but that's one of the things that's happened in my lifetime, is that people have access to the stock market on their phone. And so yesterday, while I was at work, I had about 10 minutes to just, I was thinking about what would I like to do in terms of creating an insurance policy for my cattle. What do I believe are some of the more macro things that are occurring in the economy that could affect the price of cattle? Right now, I believe that the big driving factor in the broader commodities market is the dropping value of the U.S. dollar. I believe that the dropping value, the downwards momentum in the U.S. dollar as of right now, is causing a unison rise in commodities. So whether it be gold, silver, oil, cattle, corn, wheat, I think that the weakening, there's a downwards momentum in the U.S. dollar right now, and I think that is what is causing the rise in the broader commodities market. That's my personal belief. When I take a look at everything going on, I think that's what's going on right now. And so I was like, you know what? I have about $2,000 sitting in a bank account, and I've had that $2,000 sitting in my bank account for the last probably 2-3 months, and it's still $2,000, right? And so I was like, you know what could I do with half of this money? What could I do with $1,000 to create an insurance policy for my cattle? And so I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? If I wanted to short the cattle market, if I wanted to go on the shorter side of the cattle market without shorting the cattle market, because I wouldn't short the cattle market I just wouldn't do it, okay? But if I wanted to go on the shorter side of the cattle market, trading on the stock market, what would I do? And the thing that I would do personally is I would go long on corn, because corn does get there are funds that track the price of corn on the stock market, but there isn't a fund that tracks the price of feeder cattle on the stock market. But there are funds that track the price of corn. And so if I wanted to go on the shorter side of the cattle market, I would go long. I would go long on corn. I would go buy call options on corn, if that's what I really wanted to do. But I don't think that going long on corn right now is a good idea. I think that the downwards momentum in the U.S. dollar right now is causing kind of a rise in the commodities market. And so I do believe that the price of corn will continue to fall here in a few months, in about 3-4 months, when the dollar has bottomed. I believe that the price of corn will start to fall, and that the price of cattle will go higher. But when I look at the broader equities market, and I say, you know, I got $1,000 right now to create an insurance policy for myself, the thing that I would do is I would go long on the U.S. Treasury. That is what I would do right now, because essentially, okay, when I sit there and I think about it, what is the U.S. dollar, right? If I were going to be descriptive of the U.S. dollar, what is it? To me, the U.S. dollar is a U.S. Treasury bond with an infinite duration that has zero interest. So $1 today is $1 tomorrow, is $1 the next day, $1 the next day. So to me, the U.S. dollar is an infinite duration bond with a 0% interest. And so if I think about it like that, if the U.S. dollar is a bond, right? And if the value of the dollar is going lower, that would naturally put an upwards pressure on the price of cattle, because cattle are you know, these cattle are essentially, as they say, worth their weight in gold. So if the US dollar is worth less, if the US bond is worth less, the cattle would be worth more, because the US bond being worth less, not worthless, but worth less, is the interest rate is going up. The yields on the treasury bonds are going up. And so if I were going to create an insurance policy on these cattle, how would I do it? And the thing that I would do is I would go long on the U.S. Treasury. As of right now, at this moment, when I look at the broader equities markets, when I look at the downwards pressure on the U.S. dollar, when I look at I believe that what is going to be the bottoming of the U.S. dollar here pretty soon, and then the corn prices will continue to fall afterwards. What I would personally just go long on the U.S. Treasury, and for $1,000, I could leverage for 5 call options on a 3 times bullish ETF that tracks the 20+ U.S. Treasury. And so for $1,000, I could essentially buy 500 shares of this ETF that tracks the 20+ Treasury yield. And so if things go, if the economy turns over, if the economy goes pretty poorly, if we go into a recession and there is lower growth than anticipated, and the price of cattle starts to struggle, commodities across the board start to struggle in unison, then the bond will do extremely well. And so, you know, because I don't need to put more money into inflation hedges, essentially, into the dropping of the U.S. dollar, because I have a whole bunch of cattle. All of my investments as of right now are essentially inflation hedges. I've got land, I've got cattle, and if I really want to, you know, I even thought about it, and I was like, I could go and get myself a solid gold necklace if I felt like it, if I really felt like inflation was going to be that bad. And you know, and I could do things, and you know, if I really want to, I could buy the S&P or whatever, but I don't really want to buy the S&P. If I was going to buy the S&P, I would just put more money into my own personal business. That's my personal belief. I would just rather put money into this business here before I put money into the S&P. Oh my gosh, they knocked Slowpoke over, but he got right back up. But all right, that's it for me today, YouTube. Y'all have a good one.